my son passed away, I lost something which was really precious to me. If Allah commands the angel of death to come and take your soul, the angel of death will come and rip your soul out before you even know it. I thought, yes, I want to be the one that, just because one child of mine is suffering, right? There's other children out there in the world who need our help. Today we are here 10 years on, helping millions of people. Those that are jealous, when they hear something good about you, they'll stay silent. When these same people hear something bad about you, they'll spread it everywhere. I was labelled as a drug dealer. I didn't convince Mufti. Mufti convinced me. He saw the transparency of the work and he loved the work. He voluntarily himself asked to become an ambassador. There are items that are available in Palestine, but unfortunately just at a higher cost. People that are taking advantage of the situation and inflating these prices.
It's a matter of life and death. We'll spend £100 if you have to. Today we spoke with Shakil Malji, founder of Abdullah Aid charity, who raised millions of pounds every year. We spoke about how the death of his child spurred him to rethink the purpose of his life, which led him to start the charity, and how Mufti Menk voluntarily wanted to become an ambassador for Abdullah Aid, and how he gets donations into Palestine even during blockades. Just a quick one from me. 97.1% of you who watch this podcast have not subscribed. So please click the subscribe button and join the movement. Shakil, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
It's been a long time coming, but we saved the best guest a bit later on.
They all say that. No, alhamdulillah.
You're the founder of Abdullah Aid, and the main reason you started it is your son passed away.
Yeah.
And that changed your whole mindset about life. Tell us what happened.
Well, in the most simplest way to put this, my son passed away. I lost something which was really precious to me. And at that time I thought that, and I realized actually that nothing happens without the command of Allah. Everything happens with the command of Allah. And if Allah commands the angel of death to come and take your soul, the angel of death will come and rip your soul out before you even know it. And then I thought to myself that, what have I done to prepare for that? Because prior to that, I had no preparation. I wasn't interested. But that death is what opened my eyes and showed me clearly that Allah commanded something, Allah wanted something, and it happened. And it was a time that I had to change my way.
So why did you decide to set up a charity? What was it that prompted you? Because some people, for example, set up a masjid or set up a well, but you decided, okay, you're going to set up a charity is one of the hardest things, and then to run it fully fledged, which you're still doing, alhamdulillah, 10 years later.
Yeah. So while he was unwell, when he was diagnosed, there were still some months before he passed away. And when he was unwell, I saw that he is not the only person unwell. There are so many people across the globe who are suffering or going through a difficulty. And who is there for them? Yes, there are people there for them. But I wanted to make my life to be the one that saves, and it started with children. Do something for the children, do something so that we can save their lives. Some have malnourished children in certain countries, some are refugees, some don't have sufficient food. I thought, yes, I want to be the one that, just because one child of mine is suffering, right? There's other children out there in the world who need our help. So let's stand and let's be there for them. And from that started a journey which we started to help people. And in that helping people, alhamdulillah, today we are here 10 years on, helping millions of people, just not children, everybody.
So that initial process of when you decided, okay, look, I'm going to set Abdullah Aid up. What was it inside you with helping the children and everything that made you think, you know what, we're helping children, now we're helping everyone? What made you push even further?
Because you see, as I said, we haven't prepared for anything. We haven't prepared for the hereafter. And if there's some deeds that we can do, and if there's good deeds that we can do which will grant us the entry into paradise, then of course we're going to snap it and we're going to take it. And in my life, before that, prior to that, all I did was be concerned about money, be concerned about being wealthy, having more. And I realized that the person who always makes this world, this dunya, everything that you think it is, meaning if a person makes his life here, the dunya, his purpose and his sole purpose, he will be afflicted with so many challenges in his life. You won't have barakah in your money. You won't have blessings in your life. You won't be content. Although you'll be earning all the money that you'll be earning, you won't be content. And where was the contentment really? The contentment was really when you do good for the sake of Allah. And then I thought to myself that I have an opportunity here. And the opportunity is to serve people. This will give me contentment. This will allow me to worship Allah and become closer to Allah. And I thought this is something that I really want to do. And I started the journey with that intention to serve people.
So what were your first steps in setting up a charity? Like, obviously you registered and everything. And then what were your first steps? Like, who did you go to?
Yeah.
Who are your first donors? What were them kind of stories?
It's actually quite amazing you asked me this question, because our first, after we registered and after we had the organization set up, the first people we approached was our local masajid, our local mosque. And with that, we actually took people with us to certain refugee camps around the world, especially when it all started in the refugee camps of France in Calais. And we took a lot of locals with us. And from that, we sort of were known for doing that work. And the word got around. People started to know about it. And then we traveled out to other countries, and the communities at large, people got to know about it. And then slowly taking in £50,000 in the first year. Alhamdulillah, we're taking millions now. And that's how it all started. But I say that our success didn't come from ourselves. The success didn't come because it was me that made the effort. No, it definitely wasn't. And I have to be very honest that it was my team as well. And equivalent to that was the community. The massages locally, the community. We can never forget what they did for us. We can never forget that they are the ones who built us. They are the ones who made us who we are today. It wasn't. And of course, it was from Allah. And they were the means, and Allah made them the means for us. And that is exactly what it was.
So, when you took people out to Calais, what were their kind of reactions? Because you started when I was not so young, but I was about mid-20s, and we never used to really go out of the country to do charity work and stuff. So what was the feeling from the people that you took out?
A lot of people, when they go out, they open their eyes to see that this is the reality of life, and this is how people are actually suffering. And they then understand that all the things that we have, all the luxuries that we have in our life, everything that we have on a day-to-day basis, how much we should be grateful to Allah for that. And what I learned was that as we took people out to, not just to Calais, but other countries after that, people will come back and they would try their level best not to waste, try their level best not to waste money as well, and not to spend where they shouldn't be spending. And then they have that connection with the people who they left behind. Like, for example, if they went to a certain country and they came back and they remember them, I helped this person, I helped that person, and that stays with them for a very long time. So within the circle of doing this great work, what also comes with it is how you empower and grow the people that come with you, because you're giving them a better understanding at life as well, better understanding of who we are, where we come from. And we could also be afflicted with these challenges, with these trials, where you could have been the receiver, not the giver. So that also is quite important as well. And I saw over years of us doing this work and going out into countries is that the people that we go with, they learn this and they come back and they become better people. So for us, it's an achievement of serving the people and also serving the community in a way of for them to learn how grateful they should be for everything that they have.
Do you remember Todd Morden?
Yeah, actually I do.
It's just come to my mind now, because you took a bus full of early 20s, yeah. And I was in the back of the van, and you had the high visors on, and you took us to some most random place in Yorkshire, to the extent that when we were walking on the streets, people were looking at us thinking, like, kids were pointing at us. I still remember that. And then there was flooding at that time, and obviously we went to help with the floods, and I was in a certain group, and my group, everywhere we knocked, it was fine. So I was whinging. I was like, we've driven here 4 hours. I could have been doing something else. And we didn't even end up helping anyone, except we got good fish and chips. And then you said something like, quite profound to us because we were all like, we wasted our time. Everyone's got stories. They went in basements, and we felt like, okay, we didn't do anything. But you said, look, you've come here as Muslims, but you've come here in a town full of non-Muslims, and you've basically changed the whole perception, saying, look, there's a whole group of brown people with beards coming here to help you with your floods. And I think that's when, like, it kind of switched the flick in my mind. Does that make sense? It makes sense. In the sense that charity work isn't just about helping them. That's a big part of it. But it's also about helping people come closer to the deen, even if they're non-Muslim. Because now all of a sudden you've changed perception. So what they see on TV, terrorist that, terrorist this, they're going to think, oh, wait, but these other terrorists helped us during our hard times. And a lot of people are old. So all we can now do is make dua at that time. That, you know what, before they pass away, they think, you know what, there's a Allah out there, and they read the kalima. But when did that mindset get instilled in you?
Look, I think you answered the question before you asked it, because you went there thinking, you know, what am I doing here? You know, what is going on here? And I thought the same as well. But I thought that if we've gone there, right, and these people have seen the Muslims come out and help, this is also part of our work, isn't it? We want the non-Muslims to understand who we are. And they must have seen straight, just the way you remembered after 10 years, this story. I imagine if them people who you went, and even if you could not help them physically, you went there and you gave them that smile, you were sitting there with them, you saw them, and you asked them, how can I help you? Just by you saying that and doing that, just imagine, they must be remembering that today as well, isn't it? Just the way you're remembering.
I'd hope so.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're remembering after 10 years, I'm sure they'll be remembering the same, and they'll have a good perception of Muslims. And there's a lot that has happened in my life where I've seen that, you know, you've gone somewhere, you've done something, maybe immediate effect wasn't so beneficial, but later on down the line, they've seen that, okay, our people didn't come, but our people did come, but also Muslims came out. And to have that, and I think that's a big achievement on its own.
So where do you think us as a community need to actually push forward a lot more? Because you're 24/7 pretty much, and there's other charities, Ummah Welfare Trust, National Waqf, they're like constant, but they always seem to need more help. So what do you need from people like me and just the community itself?
I mean, it's a whole different conversation, because what I would say is that our communities and our people should empower the youngers, empower the generations to come as well. And that only happen, you'll only be able to empower the generations to come if you are good to those that are around you now and that are trying to succeed in the work that they do. With that, what happens is they grow in their businesses because you've given them that hope and you've given them that way that, no, you know, you can do good. So let's push you. So the elders should push the youngers and say to them, no, you can do this business. It's halal, it's jais, do it. With that, what happens is they earn money. And when they earn money, they give to charities like us and so many other charities that are out there. And, you know, and then the work continues, you know. But if our people, where we are in our communities at the moment, you know, and this is a whole different conversation actually, but we get a lot of slack, you know, and not only just us, but others do as well. But why that happens, it's another big question.
What kind of slack?
I mean, look, it's a very touching conversation, meaning it can lead to, you know, many questions and alarm bells. But we as organizations are trying to do the work for the pleasure of Allah. You know, we spend our time a lot, and nobody sees that you're working behind the scenes. Nobody sees that, you know, you are working nighttime in your offices. Nobody sees that you've spent time away from your children. Nobody sees that you've traveled but you're away from your family. Nobody sees that your health is being affected. Nobody sees all the effects that are coming onto you because of what the community is saying about you. And that does affect. So what I'm trying to say here is that we have a lot of people within the community who can't see success. And because they can't see success, they need to speak something about you. So a lot of times what happens is when the people in our community cannot see success, they don't understand that Allah has blessed these individuals, and I'm not talking about only myself, but others. Allah has blessed them with a good business for them to succeed and gain loads of wealth. Allah has given an ability for somebody to do charitable work. But when they hear good things about you, and it's as simple as this, right? And this is where it comes down to. When those who are jealous, and that is a big sin on its own, those that are jealous, when they hear something good about you, they'll stay silent. When these same people hear something bad about you, they'll spread it everywhere. And when these same people hear nothing about you, what they're going to do? They're going to make up stories and they're going to spread lies about you. Why? So that you drop. But what they don't understand is when they do these kind of things, the only people who are going to suffer is their own communities, their own generations to come, their children themselves and their children to come. Because if we're not giving hope and encouragement to others to do good, how do you expect your family members and the ones in the coming generation to do good? Because you're always knocking down those that are trying to do good.
At what stage did this start happening to you, or did you realize that it started happening?
To be honest with you, it started happening from the beginning, if I'm going to be honest with you. But the good thing is that those that started to do it at the beginning, right, joined us in the good, right? Because they never believed in us at the time. But the moment they start believing, they joined. But then there's new people who will come and then who will try to disturb your work. But the one thing I learned from our local scholars and our seniors is that if nobody is speaking bad about you, that means you're doing something wrong. You know, it's a great saying, I'm sure you know. And with that, to be honest with you, I've spent quite a lot of years now just listening to what people say, just hearing the stories from people, letting it out the other ear, and continue to do what I'm doing. And if I let that disturb me, the things people say, if I allow that to disturb me, how am I going to be successful in doing what I'm doing? How am I going to be successful in serving those that are in need? How am I going to drive my entire team across all these countries, right, to do good work if I'm going to fall because these people are trying to make me fall? So I try to ignore and I try to continue.
So what kind of things are people saying? Is it like, okay, you're just doing it for show, or like what is it that people are saying that's like really disturbing?
You know, we deal with money on a day-to-day basis. So if you have anything good, you know, for example, you're driving a lovely car, the first question would come is that, where did you get a lovely car from? But those that know me, know me. Those that know me, know. And
From what I know, you've always been interested in cars.
my business was cars for so many years. You know, I've been in the car hiring trade for so many years. And, you know, alhamdulillah, had a successful business, right? So before having charity and driving a nice car, I was labeled as a drug dealer. But then, after having the charity and having a nice car, I'm taking charitable money. So where do you go? So I said, if I drive a small car, like a Nissan Micra, for example, other people are going to stop talking about me. No, they're not going to. They're still going to continue. They'll make another accusation on me. They're saying, why is he wearing this kind of watch, or why is he wearing this kind of trainers? You know, where did he get the money from? Oh, you know, he's got a house. Where did he get a house from? Well, hello, I wasn't living in a cardboard box before. You know, I had a house, you know. But this is where we fall. And if our community wants to see people succeed, want to see the success of their children and the coming generations and their people, you know, who doesn't need help? Masajids need help. Schools need help. Madrasas need help. There's people that are, you know, right now, you know, there's so many people that are, you know, asking for zakat, asking for money to survive. But that will happen if this is what's going to continue, and people are going to keep putting people down like this. Where do we see the future? Where do we see it?
How did you overcome this? Because being labeled a drug dealer by your own people, it's not even external. It's not even like it's on Twitter or something.
Yeah.
It's being labeled a drug dealer and then stealing funds from a charity. They're deep cut accusations, not just for you, for your family as well.
Mm-hmm. So before Abdullah Aid, when somebody would say something like that, you know, would drive a nice Lamborghini or something because that's part of my work. But at that time, I didn't really care. And I'll tell you why I didn't care is because I was never handling public funds, you know. So at that time, it was just out the other ear. It didn't interest me. But the more you become closer to your deen and to Islam, these things sort of start to worry you. And especially when you're managing the public donations, right? It does hurt, it does pain, that you're taking zakat from people, but people are labeling you as you are utilizing other people's zakat for your personal gains. These are some reasons to why we tightened up our organization, in the sense that we know who is doing what in the organization, establishing the right trustees from different backgrounds and different walks of life and different expertise, having a Sharia panel, and alhamdulillah I have local scholars of my senior scholars of ours who are our Sharia panel. And the reason we put all this in place tight, very tight, is because we know that these accusations can come anytime. And I've faced it so much that I want to make sure that at least certain respected elders, seniors, know how we as an organization operate. So if there's any other questions, or if there's ever any questions or concerns, then they are there to assist us in responding even to the communities, as well as we want to make sure as an organization that we do things in a correct manner in terms of Sharia, making sure it's, we're allowed Islamically to do certain things. And this is why we have a Sharia panel there as well. So it all ties in with this. So yeah, I mean, that's the answer to the question actually.
So then, how do you ensure that transparency? Because obviously that would now play on your mind. People are saying you're stealing the funds. So how do you ensure that 100% transparency, that your donation policy is your donation policy? You have 100% one, right?
Yeah.
So how would you ensure that? Obviously there's gift aid, which people don't factor in as well.
Yeah,
but
yeah. So people don't understand how we operate with gift aid. We use gift aid for our expenses, our charitable expenses actually. We have travels to countries to monitor, we have rents and bills to pay at the office, we have staff to pay, salaries to pay, and that is what is used for running of the organization. And there's a lot of things that we have recently done to try gain an income so that we can support the organization, so that it runs in a correct way. So we do have everything set in that way. And the transparency of it is that, we are charities. Who doesn't audit charities? We have charity audits and so on. So everything is there, accounted black and white on what's been spent, where it's been spent, how it's happened, what's happened. So there is no such thing as transparency. It's all there, it's all black and white. But for those that don't want to make the effort to go and check it, for those that don't want to make the effort to come and ask us, and then for them to judge us, that is what's the biggest pain. Because who are they to judge? People should not be judging you like this. I'm nobody to judge them, and they are nobody to judge me. Allah is the judge. Let the judge be the judge. Why do you have to take on the duty of being the judge and starting to judge people? And that alone is a sin in itself. Allah knows what we are doing, and we're not doing it for them. We are doing it for the pleasure of Allah. We are doing it so that we can serve those. And if you have a doubt, and this is not just to charity, but in everything. If you have a doubt, for example, in a charity or whatever, don't support the charity. Leave the charity alone. Just let them do what they're doing. And if you have a real concern, then report them to the authorities. Just let them be. Let the authorities do their work, And that is it, really.
Do you have to get not regulated, do you have to get audited by the Charity Commission?
Every year. Yeah, every year we have audited accounts that get submitted. And, every single year without a fail. Our cycle is October every year. So, yeah, we have accounts, we have audits, which are quite big. And, it's all available online for people to see. But they don't want to make the effort to see. Right? Some are, unfortunately, uneducated to even understand it. Right? But they can ask a professional now, what does this say? What does this mean? How are they operating? So if it's online public information, why don't you go and check it rather than make up stories?
The way I would look at it is the sign of a charity's acceptance is how far you've gone. And now you have offices in how many different countries?
Well, we have a fundraiser office in Canada, and then we have implementation offices, probably about 4 or 5 of them. And then we work in 25 countries totally, putting that together.
So, and you go to Gambia regularly, along with going to other countries. There's a lot of refugee camps that we see Abdullah Aid on it. and you see them like globally. Obviously, you send your WhatsApp broadcast, but then when we want to donate or when we say, look, we've got X amount, can we put it towards Palestinian refugee camp or even a walima? We just say, look, Abdullah Aid. So that for me, that's an acceptance.
Yeah.
And seeing that you've grown in 10 years into 25 different countries, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, I mean, look, transparency for us is key. And whenever people make donations of, you gave some great examples. We make villages for people. We do feeding for their walimas and their weddings and stuff. People don't have to spend the money here sometimes and feed the poor, which is a brilliant thing. And people fundraise and they like to go out to countries. They like to see their donations being delivered. They have a one-to-one connection and one-to-one relationship sometimes with the people that are there. And yeah, seeing all that over all these years, 10 years, I just honestly look, there's one thing which is, I always thank Allah. Honestly, I always thank Allah. And why I always thank Allah is because I know that I deserve nothing, but still He gives me everything. And this is why I thank Allah. And when I mean He gives me everything, it's that we just pray to Allah for success. We ask Allah to guide us, to protect us. And we make a dua to Allah always that in everything that we are doing, grant us success. And make us do everything which is for your pleasure and with the right intentions. And when you come to this many years of the organization, you know that Allah has accepted that dua, right? And you know that Allah has accepted not just my dua, but the dua of the people. Every time we went to serve people, these people gave duas that I never thought that these duas even, people could even say from their mouths. And today I can say that the people that gave these duas, I am seeing these duas come true. A lot of people say that I'm always making a dua, but my dua is never getting accepted, and I'm now tired of making dua again and again and again. But the one thing I learned is that you can make dua as much as you want, right? But that if that dua does not come for you, meaning if that dua you feel it's not accepted, don't feel it's not been accepted. Don't feel to yourself that your dua has not been accepted, because Allah might have not granted you that dua because it wasn't good for you, right? It might have been something that, and in that dua, to make it easier to understand this, is that in your dua, also say that grant it to me if it's good for me, right? But Allah knew that wasn't good for you, so Allah never gave it to you. But you won't understand that straight away. You'll only understand it later,
And that's if you even understand it later.
Even if you understand it later. So it takes years for people to realize. Sometimes, I know people myself that, 5 years, 10 years, why did Allah not do this and that and that and that for them? And I actually have people personal friends that say, I've been asking for this for 8 years. I had just one the other day, one of my friends, for 8 years, Allah didn't grant me this. But Allah granted it now. But then we put few things together and I said to him, do you remember this happened and that happened and that happened? But if you had that, then that would have been affected big time. You would have lost what you had at that time. But now, all that challenge is gone and now you have it today, right? It's not going to affect it because that difficult phase of yours passed. Allah granted it to you when it was time to grant it to you. Allah knows that now I'm going to give it to my servant. He's asked for it all these years. When he wanted it then, it wasn't good for him. He wants it. No, he still wants it. I'm going to give it to him now, even without him asking for it. And exactly what happened to one of my friends recently. So the point is that, we ask Allah for everything when the time is right. And for us, for Abdullah Aid, the time was right. We said to Allah, keep us sincere, keep us on the right track. And if it's good for us, let us continue the work. Initially, people used to say, what are these guys going to do? How are they going to run a charity organization? Are they all youngsters from the community? What can they do? How are they going to do this? Yeah. The same people today are with us, saying to us, no, great work, And even at that time, I said, when people were saying this, I said to Allah, if it's good for me, it's good for us, give it to us. If we're not going to deceive people and hurt people, then allow us to do it. But if you know that it's written for us that things are going to go in a bad way, then don't grant it to us. But Allah granted it to us, which means that there was going to be success from that time.
To be honest, if you look at your trajectory compared to some other charities, your one has grown a lot. And then you had ambassadors like Mufti Menk, which helps. But then there's a lot of hard work still behind the scenes. These are just, we just see the cream of that, we just see the cream. saying, okay, you've got a relationship with Mufti Mek now. What's like the real hard work behind the scenes that no one sees?
Look, your honesty and transparency is huge, right? That is what gets you to success, if I'm going to be honest with you. And just putting your head down, working, ignoring all the negativity. But the hard work behind the scenes is having that fikr, knowing that, you know what, I've got people's donations and I want to make sure no matter what happens, I'm going to fulfill this in the best way possible, right? If you go with the pure intention, right, the road will open itself. And that was the graft. And when I mean that, you know, making sure that you spend the money of these people in the correct way, that includes graft, meaning you're grafting to do that. If you don't graft to do that, it's not going to happen. We can't simply just say to somebody, okay, you know, here's a load of money. Now we've been given zakat donations. Here's a load of money. Go and discharge it. It doesn't really work like that. It actually works in the way that, you know, they've given you the money. You've got responsibility on yourself. Now, how are you going to execute that responsibility? And that execution of that responsibility comes down to your hard graft, your hard work. You're looking into certain countries. You're looking into the people that you're giving to, buying items from countries at a cheaper price. So people think they'll just come and simply give you a donation, right? And it's just going to go to another country by some Western Union and it's going to be discharged. No, there's a whole procedure. There's a whole process. And that process involves so many different departments within our organization, right? And people don't see it in the background. People think I went and gave them money, so I want to make sure that next week they've discharged the money. So I'm going to go to their office next week and I'm going to ask them, is it done? Well, okay, we might have it done, but the way you've come and asked, is it done? It's like, you know, like it was just like next door we had to give it to or something like that. It's the process to follow. You know, the charity commission requires us to have due diligence in place for everything that you do. Know your donor and, you know your donor, know your beneficiaries, everything. It's not, you know, it's not easy. It's a process to follow. So there's a graft in that.
So for me, it's easy. I just go on your website, just donate £100, £1,000, whatever I want. Then for you, you have to follow a full process. And in that process, from my understanding, charity commission, just say you have 100 donations, they can pick any 100 and say, okay, right, what's happened with this donation?
Correct.
How have you fulfilled the criteria?
Yep.
Would they look into if it's zakat, sadaqah, or they're not? So if it's zakat, how do you know that the person is eligible for zakat? If it's sadaqah, then how do you know that person's eligible? So they look at all of that, and you have to then follow each and every process. It's like a bank, essentially, isn't it? But you have to follow the process. And this is what no one sees that you've set up.
Yeah.
So how did you learn about this?
Yeah, this is it now. So when you are a young charity, you don't have that many donors and you don't have that many beneficiaries. So you have the opportunity to learn in that time because you've got a lot of time. You know, you're still looking into things, you're still researching, you're still finding people, still finding ways. So within that, what happens is because you have the time, you end up learning on how to do certain things. So, but as the time goes on, what happens is as it increases, your contacts increase with that, your staff increases with that. And when you speak to like certain villages in certain countries, you got like Gambia, for example, you got imams of the villages, right? You've got the leaders of the villages. You know, villages have leaders and they have senior people there. They know that, okay, no, these families are eligible for zakat, right? And you just know, you can clearly see that these people are eligible for zakat, right? So that's how we follow the process in certain countries, right? When there's an earthquake, when there's a tsunami, when there's a calamity, when there's a disaster, automatically these people are, you know, eligible for zakat anyway. So, you know, you don't have to look into it to a certain level. But there is a process to follow, and this is part of the process of knowing the beneficiary, learning that beneficiary is zakat eligible. So yeah.
And you know, for example, I'm guessing this is a big problem in charities. In Ramzan, that's when you have all of your zakat pretty much come in, or I'm guessing 90% of it at least. What happens for the rest of the 11 months?
Work. So you have Ramadan where all the donations come in. Yes, we have certain donations which need to be executed before Eid, and we make sure we do that. But there's other donations which you have the year that I wouldn't say we take a year to do it, but there's a process that you're going to submit projects. have that project done. That takes some months alone. You know, if it's construction projects, the building takes long, like a village, for example, takes a long period of time. And then you get your feedback. And then by the time you give them donors the feedback, and then businesses who have donated to you, give them the feedback, and so on, so on, and so Ramadan has come again. Right. So it's a cycle. We're following that cycle for 10 years. And it works because we have a lot of the same businesses sometimes that give us a donation again. And the reason they give us a donation again is simply because we've been transparent with their donation. We've made sure we've given them feedback and a full understanding of their project. You know, of course, we can't do it for smaller, £10, for example. Of course, we appreciate the £10 that come as well. But it's hard to do all the small
You have a
ones.
minimum threshold.
Yeah, so we know that, for example, if somebody has given, you know, like, I mean, every charity scale is different. If somebody gave us, you know, a large amount of money, then, you know, we would give them feedback. We would take some extra effort to do certain things, because we as organizations look for them donations, and it's like a business, really. You know, we need to make sure we fulfill it. We fulfill all the donations in the correct way, but we need to show we fulfill certain ones, because the ones that are giving more money, sometimes they're a bit hesitant as well to make sure they can trust the charity. So we do everything to make sure that we can show them that, you know, you can trust us. We have done it properly. And we invite a lot of businesses to say, you know, do you want to travel? Do you want to go here? Do you want to go there? Do you want to see your work? We do that quite often as well.
Are you fed up with bad tenants? Are you struggling to sell or buy a property? At High Castle Estates, we know property isn't always easy, but that's why we're here. We help landlords secure reliable tenants fast. We help sellers sell with confidence and achieve the best price. We help buyers find the right home without the hassle. Property is stressful, but with the right team, it doesn't have to be. So, if you're looking to sell, rent, or buy a home, get in touch today at High Castle Estates in East London. You can find the details in the description below. You know, for you to get someone of the caliber of Mufti Menk on obviously shows how well you've done with your work. But what was the process, or how did you manage to convince Mufti to become an ambassador?
I didn't convince Mufti. Mufti convinced me.
How did that happen?
So Mufti was a friend of mine. Mufti Menk was a friend of mine prior to any of this, right? So as we were working, he was always interested in what we do. And, you know, I would ask him, you know, here, there's something about charity or whatever. But traveling with him at times and being in certain countries with him, he saw the transparency of the work, and he loved the work. And he voluntarily himself asked to become an ambassador. That's actually what happened. That's the truth of the story. It wasn't that I asked him to become an ambassador. I mean, I would have, right? But I didn't want to take advantage of someone that I know that closely. But he himself voluntarily to become an ambassador of Abdullah Aid. And of course, who wouldn't snap that up? So I snapped the opportunity.
What has that done for you as well in terms of your profile? Because obviously Mufti Saab's got a global appeal.
Yeah.
So what has that done for you?
Yeah, I mean, it gives us donations will be, you know, increase to a level, but I think more than that, it brings awareness, and it also gives trust to those that who already are donating to it. It gives them, you know, it encourages them to do more. It gives them that bit of satisfaction that someone like Mufti Menk is with us. So yeah, that's what it brings us to the table. Yeah.
And does it bring like a lot of credibility as well? So people like, okay, they associate Abdullah Aid with Mufti Menk, so there's a certain level.
Yeah. So in certain countries, certain places, yeah, it does give that credibility. Of course, it does.
And what did Mufti Saab see when he went to travel with you? That was like, you know what, this is something I have to get behind. Because I'm sure he has a lot of different charity requests, and he knows plenty.
Yeah, listen, Mufti Menk has been offered millions to be involved in certain charities, and I know that firsthand. But Mufti Menk is not interested in financially gaining anything from any charity, say anybody actually in the world. And people have offered money, which is mind-boggling, and I've seen it myself, but he's always rejected, because even if they had asked him, to do something for free, they maybe had more of a chance to do it, to get it done, let's say. But for them to go in with a figure to say that, no, we want to pay you X, Y, Z, it's just straight away a no.
Is that a red flag for charity?
Yes and no, to be honest with you. But the amounts, if you talk about a figure, figures that have been offered to him, that is, a red flag. More than a red flag, a double red flag, actually.
Because I would automatically think, where's a charity getting 7 figures from to offer someone for an ambassador? If it was like a smaller amount, which could be potentially from gifting, it's like, okay, I get that. Because obviously every charity still has marketing expenses. You have events and stuff which you still have to pay for. So that part I wouldn't totally understand.
Yeah. To be honest with you, it's hard for me to answer this question because being in the sector, because I'll end up upsetting some people. So I've got to be careful on how I use my words and what I say. But I think what the public needs to understand is that, do you call a big charity a charity that's taking in millions? Or do you call a big charity someone that's doing the work correctly? You differentiate between them. For me, I see as a bigger charity is the one who's doing the work properly. If your focus is the work and not the fundraising, right, so much, then the work will be done to the way the donors want it to be done. So if the public sees that, no, we're going to give money to XYZ charity because taking in, 50, 60, 70, 80 million, 200 million a year, oh, there must be a good charity because they're taking in this much money. Well, on the flip side, maybe they're taking in a lot of money because their sole focus is to fundraise. And the ones that are taking 10% of that money in their organization, maybe their sole purpose is not fundraising, their sole purpose is delivering. So who would you rather go to? The bigger one or the smaller one? But that's another...
For the sake of our funds, personally, ourselves, it needs to be the one that delivers.
Yeah.
And the one that shows that, okay, yes, we do deliver. So we give our zakat, it goes somewhere. Give our sadaqah, it goes somewhere.
Yeah.
That's what I would think personally.
Yeah, exactly.
But obviously the marketing campaign of a massive charity who can bring in 180 million, that you're talking 8 figures in gift aid.
Yeah.
So they can do a lot more fundraising.
Yeah, but they also clarify that, we're taking this much money from your donations. And if the public is happy with them taking that much money from your donation, from your zakat, then that's fine. I mean, that's up to the individual, isn't it? But then again, isn't there wastage of the Ummah's money when it could be used, I know organizations that do campaigns, social media campaigns and, all sorts of things. And they're paying for campaigns like nearly 4 million, 5 million a year just for campaigns, just for adverts. But how, as Muslims and how as an Ummah, do we see this sitting?
Can we justify it?
Can we justify it as an Ummah? Personally, I can't, right? And I don't see why anyone would be able to justify that. But for those that do, then good on them. And for those that want to donate to them sort of organizations, again, good on them, and we wish them all the best. But it's just not something that we do. We don't believe in it. We believe in marketing, of course we do, but there's a limit to what you do. So I would say taking the donations that you can handle. And what I mean by handle, taking the donations that you can handle to deliver in the correct way that the donor requires you to do it, and the correct distribution methods of zakat donations, for example. A lot of this, you've got to put your deen and your Islam into this, and you've got to do it properly. And one of your questions was, how did we get the success and how did all this happen? It's simply because of things like this.
One of the biggest campaigns in the last 18 months has been Palestine. And on the news, we read a lot about there's blockade, there's no aid getting in, there's no food, Israel have blocked this, Israel have blocked that. How do you as a charity, initially I can understand, and obviously everyone's giving because everyone sees it, but how do you ensure as a charity that you get funds where it needs to go?
So we've been working in Palestine for the last 8 years. So before any of this, we had a team that was there established. So our work just continued, right? But just went onto a larger scale in Palestine. Of course, when the route for the trucks opened from Egypt to Gaza, we utilized that route quite a lot. And in fact, we facilitated for a lot of organizations, mainstream organizations, a lot of them. And, I'm sure a lot of them won't want to be named, so I'm not going to say. But there is a lot of organizations that we facilitated trucks for from Egypt to Gaza. And the blockade came and, and they got lifted again and a blockade came again. So a lot of it was done then. But also because we already have a team in Palestine, there are items that are available in Palestine, but unfortunately just at a higher cost. But in this situation where people are starving and not able to survive, for us to buy items at a higher cost, it's fine. And that is exactly what we're doing.
When you mean higher cost, I'll just say bread would cost there £1. How much would it be now?
Probably £2.
Because everything's doubled.
Must be double, maybe 50% up or maybe 100% up. But, and I asked the scholars this question, that there are people who we should not be buying from, we should be boycotting, right, in them countries. There's people that are taking advantage of the situation and inflating these prices. Should we buy from them? And the answer is yes, we should buy, because our people are suffering. What other option do we have?
It's a matter of life and death.
A matter of life and death. And of course we will. And, we have donations and people are wanting to give. If right now I said to you that there's a family who needs food, on a general day, they'll get it for £10. But today it's going to cost you £50. To be honest with you, I'm sure you're going to say to me, no, if they need to eat and they need to survive, I'll give them £1,000. So why not?
Doing this, if we put ourselves in them shoes and we've got to feed a family and it's going to cost £50 rather than £10, we'll spend £100 if we have to.
Yeah,
so it's the same thing.
100%.
So with Palestine itself, have you had people on the ground to give you that transparency? Because even that transparency is very difficult because of, pretty much everything that's been happening.
Yeah, of course. We've had, as I said to you, we've had a team there for like 8 years, and there is transparency. We have reports and we have media, and our social media platforms. We put everything on there, and it's quite evident on what we're doing. It's actually very transparent, and we usually every couple of days put something on social platforms to show the work that we are doing. Our banners have dates on them, which is quite important as well.
I noticed that.
Yeah, exactly. So we have banners, we have dates on the banners. We have people sometimes speaking in the video. We have beneficiary lists. We know our people that we're giving to. So we try our best to. I mean, in this current situation, it does get difficult because there's a desperation, and for us to get, for example, in some situations, like certain countries, we have a procedure of doing fingerprints of the people that are receiving,
Right.
like a thumbprint.
Like a signature.
Yeah. So, for example, if we're giving food parcel to 1,000 people, right, in Africa country, we have a list of their names and everything, and each one has to thumbprint when they take the actual food parcel to show transparency. We know which village they're from. We have their phone number. We have their fingerprint to confirm they took it. So, like that, we do it everywhere. But certain countries, sometimes it gets difficult because of the crisis. But yeah, we are always, we're on the phone to them always. We're always connecting with them, so we know what is exactly going on.
You mentioned about certain companies we should be boycotting, and obviously the bread manufacturers and everything who give bread or food in Palestine are probably the primary ones we should be boycotting, but we can't at this time. What do you need from Muslim businesses to help charities flourish even more?
You mean in terms of?
In terms of setting up some kind of infrastructure, or a system which helps not just your charity, all the charities.
Yeah. So, for example, we have organizations in certain countries like Egypt, for example, and they are Muslims that we know quite well, and they are well-to-do themselves, but they have businesses, warehouses where they supply these items at a cheaper cost, a cheaper price, so that we can embed that with the cost of the logistics of sending the items from Egypt to Gaza, and within that, if you've purchased of Muslims, right, and they've allowed you to save money on the products, but you utilize that money to do your transportation, for example, to Gaza, to Palestine. And that's helped the organization save a lot of money because, transporting these items from one place to another, one country to another, it's not as simple as, and it's not cheap either. So what we would need, what everyone would need, what charities would need from individuals and business and high net worth people is to establish something, right? Have a base of something where you can provide like bulk items or things that are desperately needed in certain countries. Have them available and have them available to deliver to these people at a cheap cost and facilitate that, because charities cannot facilitate everything. They can arrange donations, they can arrange delivery, but to source the items, to get these items. I mean, if Muslim businesses could get involved in building something, which there's a whole what do you call it, like a whole line of this production to
Supply chain.
to supply chain. Yeah, no, I think that'd be quite brilliant.
So what does the Muslim pound mean to you?
Muslim pound, I mean, depends on. I mean, exactly. Like for us, for example, we just want to see Muslims succeed, and that is it. Because we know that if the Muslim people succeed, right? If the Muslims succeed in their business, right? We as people and as organizations and as people who are just trying to do good, people that are sitting there trying to graft, make the whole process easy for them. And as I said to you, it's a chain, and the chain, what happens in the chain is that you allow businesses to grow, you allow younger people to grow. That's just going to generate more of an income and more of a benefit for the Muslims at large.
So I see in a way that when Muslims spend on Muslim businesses, naturally the Muslim businesses are going to get bigger and better because they have more money to invest in their own systems and infrastructure and everything. From that, you can purchase other businesses or you can grow your business by investments and everything. And from that, that's where like Abdullah Aid comes in. That's where National Waqf comes in. That's where other charities come in. We start funding things which are important in the Muslim community, whether that's foreign charity, whether that's local charity, whether that's certain projects. And then we fund using them projects, we fund back to, you've got a 17-year-old who's brilliant in tech and he's got a fantastic idea. He needs 5 figures, 6 figures. We can use them funds and it becomes a full circle.
Yeah.
And that's where I would see the ideal Muslim pound ecosystem, however you want to call it.
Yeah.
But it's about intentionally spending. The same way we intentionally give X amount of zakat, the same way we need to intentionally spend every single pound on a Muslim business.
Exactly what it is. And that's exactly what I was trying to say in another way, that that 17-year-old you gave an example of, that, let's empower those that are the younger generation. And it's just a circle where the Muslims, businesses, get more business because you're utilizing, if you're going to purchase something, try purchase it from a Muslim business owner. The only thing that's going to happen is going to be a chain, and that chain is just going to go round and round and round within the Muslims, and then like that will grow as people, and it'll make it easier for everyone in that chain to do everything they're doing, because that person doesn't have to worry about a customer coming because he knows that, okay, the Muslims are going to come to me. That person don't need to worry about anything else further on. And then charities like us won't have to worry either, will we? Because we know that the Muslims are making money, so they're going to have to give zakat.
Exactly.
So I just hoping that the first person in this chain buckles up and starts quickly.
Inshallah. How many countries do you visit every year, roughly?
Oh,
Obviously, it varies year to year.
yeah, it varies, but I mean, if we're talking about most countries I've visited in a year, I'll probably say that, I don't know, probably about 15
countries.
different countries. But how many times is the question, isn't it?
How many times?
Oh, I don't know. I've calmed down now recently because, it takes a toll on your health and stuff. But there's been times I've done about, I've probably done about 50 to 100 travels, probably, in the space of just no time.
What is it about Gambia that makes you... Gambia is one you visit very, very regularly, isn't it?
Yeah.
What is it about Gambia that you guys visit?
We love Gambia. When
So
it comes
Gambia's
to
on the
Gambia,
west coast of Africa, right?
West Coast, yeah. What happens with Gambia is that, the need is large. We have an office there for a long time, actually. One of our first ones, actually. And I think it's one of them countries where we see a lot of people when they go there from like our donors who are fundraising and stuff, they really enjoy being there, right? And they really get to interact with those that they are giving to. And
And
for
just see them
us,
playing football
yeah,
with the kids.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then for us to see, these people suffering, we like to go there again and again. But the biggest thing about Gambia is that for us to show people that are fundraising and collecting donations, for us to show people, showcase the work of what we are doing, Gambia is the most convenient place. So I would say that the whole Gambia thing grew with Abdullah Aid because of the convenience of travel, because it's not a long travel. It's sort of easy to get there. And it's, the people from here can adapt to it quite easily and get used to it in a couple of days. And, there's no language barrier much. There's not much of a language barrier problem. So I think that's where it grew a lot more in Gambia. And a lot of the football thing, as you said, the football thing is big in Gambia and the kids love football. So that's how it all grew in Gambia.
What legacy do you want to leave behind with Abdullah Aid? Let's say fast forward 30 years. If we're still alive, where do you want to see Abdullah Aid?
Wow. Look, we haven't done anything in our lives. I'll talk for myself. We haven't done anything in our lives to gain the pleasure of Allah. And the call for us to leave this world will come at any time. So I say that take account of yourself before you are taken into account. Do some deeds in this world which even your friends and your family don't know. Do some things which are off the camera. Do some things maybe which are, away from the fame. Do something purely for the pleasure of Allah. Do something which only Allah knows and you know. And now just imagine that you've done a good deed today and the only people that know about it is you and Allah, nobody else. And imagine on the day of judgment, when you need them deeds the most, you could be a happy person and say, you know what, I remember, I did these deeds, and you might not even remember actually. And you might say, these are some deeds that I done, and these deeds of mine are going to be there for me on the day that I need it the most. So the legacy we want to leave behind is that the organization, and not only for me, but I say for my entire team, leave this legacy in such a way that we do things with a pure intention, so that on the day that we need it the most, it's there for us as a barrier, and it'll give us the entry into paradise.
Inshallah, and may Allah grant that legacy and more.
Ameen.
Shakil, it's been a pleasure.
Jazakallah khair.
I'll see you again soon, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Just in time.
Very good.
Yeah, that was good. Alhamdulillah. What was time?
5:30.
I thought I spoke a lot more. I think I did speak a lot, but I think time just wasn't quite free. But alhamdulillah, it was good.
I remember Todd Morden in the middle of it.
Yeah, I was like, where did this guy? You got me thinking. I was like, what's Todd Morden? I was like, okay, I don't know.
Must have been about 2016. We had minibuses, went to a random village in Yorkshire.
No, not 16, 2014.
2014, 15.
Yeah, definitely.
Because
when we went there, my son was still alive. And he passed away in December 2015. So it would have been early 15. Early 15. Yeah, makes sense. Wow, man. You remembered, bro.
Just about.